Today we're going to show you a recipe about a very special Swiss bread that's called tres. It's kind of like a breed between Hawaiian bread and brioche, but with a twist. It takes about 3 hours to make altogether. It's very easy, very inexpensive. We'll show you all the way. So these are all the ingredients that you need. I'll go one by one. We need about a pound of flour, yeast, and a little bit of lukewarm milk, melted butter, very important, and some luke milk, a little bit of salt and sugar, and then we'll need an egg at some point in the recipe, but that's just about all you need, all right? The first thing we're gonna do is actually mix the yeast with the luke milk. Be mindful that yeast is a living organism that will die at a certain temperature, so you keep it at a lukewarm temperature till it activates, and this is what it looks like. There you go. So you want to mix the yeast with the luke milk, and you want to let it sit for a little bit till it starts bubbling. The bubble action will mean that this is actually activating the yeast. Yeast will start creating what it's supposed to do in the recipe. All right, we have our yeast activating right now with the luke milk. It's going to take a few minutes. Once it starts bubbling, it means that the yeast is fully activated. What we're going to do is actually mix with this flour that we have 1 yellow egg. So you're just going to take the yolk and just throw it into the batter or the flour, just like I'm going to show you right now. All right, we got the yolk here. We separate it, and we're just gonna add it to our flour, right, just like so. And this will start the process of making the dough. Enjoy the viewing. Right, in order to give some taste and flavor to our bread, we're going to add a little bit of salt. It's also going to help the yeast, salt and sugar. It's going to also help the yeast actually perform better once it starts bubbling up our bread. So let's just take a look at what we're going to do. There you go. Here's the sugar, a little bit of sugar on the top of everything. Here, you know, if you like your bread very sugar, just don't hesitate to go a little bit heavier. And then we're just gonna add a little bit of salt because breads like salt. There you go. And that's it. So this is the next part of the process. Very easy, very simple. All right, and I told you that we needed to activate the yeast. So it's been a few minutes since we started the process with our luke warm milk. Let me show you how it's looking like at the moment. And as you can see, the bubbles are starting to build up. It means that the yeast is starting to ferment and activate. So this is a good sign. All right, let's move on to the next step of the process. We still have to add our yeast, we'll still have to add a lot more milk, and we'll still have to add our butter to the mix in order to create this dough and enable that dough to rise for about 2 to 3 hours. That's the ideal time. And again, at a controlled temperature, because yeast will die if it goes too high in temperature. You can always look it up on the internet, all right? And here we are. I'm just gonna add a little bit of butter. You know, butter is really good in bread. And then we do have, let me lick my finger while I'm doing this. We do have a little bit of luke milk that we're gonna add to the mix. Do not add everything at once, because you'll have to gauge how much of it you'll need once you see the texture of the dough. So I'm just gonna start mixing it, and you're gonna start the mix So it's going to take a few minutes for that to go through, and then we'll look at the consistency of the dough. Either we're going to have to add more flour or more liquid. All right, we did this for a little bit, so it shows that we actually need more liquid in all this. So we're gonna bring our milk, which will bring sweetness to all this, and we're gonna add a little bit more milk and do it again till we reach the right consistency of our dough. Let's do it again. All right, see the consistency of our dough. It's getting a lot better. It's not sticky, but it's still not moist enough. So what we're gonna add is the yeast to the mix. The yeast has actually worked quite a bit, and I'm gonna add a little bit more milk into it in that yeast bowl to get everything out of it, because that's exactly what's gonna make our bread very, very good and tasty. So we're gonna cover this again and do it again for a few minutes. And remember, do not let the mixer get the dough too hot, otherwise it will kill the process. All right, we finally got our dough out of the mixer, and this is what it looks like. There you go. It's a ball. It's kind of like, it's not sticky, but it's tender. It's been kneaded for quite some time. So what we need to do is to rest this dough for about 3 hours. And this has to be in a warm environment, not over 103 or 4 degrees. So I just turned on the oven for a few minutes, and I'm going to throw that in the oven covered with a paper towel to let it grow. And once it double the size, then we'll be able to make our bread.